everyone, to another episode of the Hector and Mike Experience, Common Sense in an Uncommon World. And we're doing this recording before I end up heading out of town, get out of town for a honeymoon. And well, it's good. Should be fun. I mean, it's a couple,
Most
couple days
honeymoons
off.
usually are.
Well, yes, but 12, 13 days away from kind of what I'm trying to do is just really, unplug for a while there. But we'll see what happens, in that sense.
Just, it's a good idea to unplug. The one
I
thing I've
know.
learned in life is you can unplug, come back, and the crazy will still be there. So
But
you won't
here's one
miss
of the
anything.
things is it's like I told Amy, I said I go, look, I'm gonna try to unplug and stuff like that, and she kind of looks at me and she goes, it's okay. She goes, take your laptop, you'll be fine. She goes, you need to kind of balance it out, but one thing I am going to do is try to watch plenty of football, find a place to watch some football, some of this college football. I mean, it was just bananas this last weekend. Alabama, Auburn. I
Alabama
mean,
was,
we were just
yeah,
watching all these close games, and
yeah.
I mean, it
And
was
they
sad
went.
to see Ohio State
I
lose
was just gonna say,
to Michigan. Oh, I know
I
it
thought
was
Ohio State would win that game, but Michigan played a good game. Give them credit.
a close
Yeah,
game.
yeah,
But
yeah.
still, ready to see, what ends up in the not just the was it the Big Ten, or I don't know if it's a Big
Yeah.
Ten, Big 12,
Pac
or
10, the
whatever that.
Big Ten, the Pac-12, the
Yeah,
SEC.
and then how the
I mean,
how all the bowl games shake out. And then Amy will be watching her 49ers, trying to find a place to watch her 49ers play. And so I mean and that's on the sports side, right? That's on the sports side. I'm going to try to be able to catch and actually watch a couple full games. But I mean, the other thing too, I mean, there's it's like we're full of, like, even on the sports side of politics that we deal with. I mean, you got this Thursday that you've got the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, debating the governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis. And so I may have to try to sneak out somewhere and catch that debate, because Mike,
that
I haven't. And we've been doing this for a while, and I don't remember another time where we've got this, like, presidential candidate debating the governor of another state.
well, it fits the. You're right, but it fits the mold. I mean, so far we've had three Republican presidential debates without the candidate who's 50 points ahead. So it really is, people is it started out people I think incorrectly, by the way, saying that they were debating to see who would be his vice presidential candidate, and that's not what was happening. Basically, they're debating to see who's the last person standing, so that in case he trips and falls somewhere in the legal process, and for whatever reason cannot be the nominee, that person rises to the top. And so, you've never seen anything like that in politics before, where, you have these debates going on, and it's not a charade, but it's almost like, okay, the person that you're running after is still, you have a debate, go into the debate, he's 50 points ahead, you come out of the debate, he's 52 points ahead. So, they're there to see if he falls. That's like, the guy's lapping you on the race on the track, and you keep running in the hope that he blows a tire. So that's what that one. And this one is kind of the same way. It's the Hail Mary for Ron DeSantis. Can he stand up to? He can't stand up to Trump. He can't stand up to Nikki Haley. It's can he stand up to Gavin Newsom and show to the Republicans that in case Trump does falter, he could be a standard bearer. And for Gavin, it's a beautiful thing. I mean, he gets to, he has nothing to gain, nothing to lose. I mean, it's a win-win for him. If he gains something by going out there and showing who he is and defending progressive ideas, and the progressives will love him, and putting the feet to the fire. He already was running an ad attacking Ron DeSantis, for what he's done in Florida. So, I mean, that's, and no one expects, Ron DeSantis to be able to lay a glove on the guy. So Ron has a lot to gain by it. DeSantis has a lot to gain by it. I think it's a smart thing for DeSantis to do. It's unconventional. But it's one of those things in this election cycle that is completely out of the norm. But within this election cycle, it kind of makes sense. It's a last chance for DeSantis to prove his mettle against a progressive stalwart on the other side. It's another chance for Newsom to not run for president, but be ready to be president, the nominee for president, in case something happens to Joe. It's just par for the course for 2020, 2024.
It is par for the course, and the ad that you had mentioned. So right now, Gavin Newsom is running an ad in Florida, attacking Ron DeSantis over his stance on abortion, and he is running that ad is and it's a precursor to what we talked about, which is an issue that the Democrats are going to run. And here you have the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, running those ads. But it'll be interesting to see. Yes, it is the progressive wing of the party, California with Gavin Newsom, and you've got DeSantis, who has done seems to have done a pretty good job over in Florida,
Oh, yes.
where you have a lot of Californians that have moved into Florida, and not just those that are looking to retire. You've got a Florida that didn't shut down during the pandemic, that kept things going.
Mm.
You've got a Florida that is, for all intents and purposes, everything we've seen is doing well economically. Its people are doing well, and so he's going to look to try to contrast that over with California, and what is happening in California, and the progressives, not just from the governor's office, but also the progressives that are we finding in the DA, the district attorney's office, and the mayor's offices, that have led to some of this homeless crisis that we're dealing with, some of this crime crisis. But I just it'll I I don't know what the point of. I mean, yes, DeSantis is probably his last kind of couple steps into whether he's viable or not, and debating against Gavin Newsom. I just hope he's done his homework, because I mean, we saw when Gavin Newsom went over with Sean Hannity. I mean, he looked good. He is, and this is kind of his realm. He's able to memorize a lot of stats and figures. And the thing is that he will try to overwhelm you with all these stats and figures. But it's when you start looking deeper into these stats and figures that you realize that it's just a bunch of BS.
I hope, I do hope this. I hope that the people that are advising Ron DeSantis in preparation for this debate do a whole lot better than they've done up until now. Because you're right, Ron DeSantis has a great record as the governor of Florida. He's governed as a true conservative. There's absolutely no reason that conservatives should not like Ron DeSantis based on his record in Florida. But going out onto the national stage has been a disaster for him, unfortunately. Even when he gets support from, an evangelical leader in Iowa and the governor of Iowa, who's very popular, Kim Reynolds, and is a very good governor, it still doesn't make a difference. The way they have presented him and packaged him, I don't think has done him justice. I hope that those that are advising him and preparing him for Thursday night at this debate do a better job than they've done so far. He deserves better than what he has had. And he does have a good record in Florida. It is a great record to contrast to California. He has to be able to do that concisely, and he has to be almost prosecutorial in his approach with Gavin Newsom, because Gavin Newsom, as you said, is slick. He'll pull numbers out of the air as well as other parts of his body. And they may be true and they may not be true, but he has a convincing way of using those numbers that you believe they are true. And so it's going to be a definite challenge for DeSantis. But if he's able to hold his own, I think people will take notice of that because, and I do think that will help him. If he doesn't, then it's all but done. Because honestly, we're now we'll be into December. Iowa votes, I think, the first week in January. New Hampshire votes the second week in January. South Carolina, I think, votes the second or third week of February. Then you got Super Tuesday. I mean, it's practically it's time. It's now go time. So this is a do or die moment for him. It's strange that it's presented itself. He's got to take advantage of it.
Yeah, and just going into your discussion of one number and underlaying other numbers. I mean, a clear example is just when you look at Gavin Newsom going out there and talking about oil companies that are and their profits and their gouging. I mean, he'll still name Chevron and a bunch of other companies and saying, look, they're making $40 billion in profits. And while they may have made that amount of money, it isn't like so that money was all made in California. I mean, you got a lot of these companies that own a tremendous amount of other companies in addition to renewable energy projects that they invest in. They've got refineries all over the world. And so to try to blame those companies as gouging just here in California, but not anywhere else, it's just it's that kind of stuff. It's knowing the number, but it's also knowing what's behind the number. And that is, one of the areas that I know for a lot of folks, in running into politics, unless you've been doing this for a while and you've got some of that institutional knowledge or can understand, having to look beyond it, a lot of folks just get stuck over on
Right.
what's on the
Big
top.
oil.
Yeah, and
Big
it's
oil.
and then they get killed. I
Right.
mean, it's one of those things where I could see DeSantis going out there and saying, well, right now California leads the number in homelessness. You've got over 50% of all the homeless reside in California. Gavin's just going to come back out there and talk about all the money and investments that have been put into fighting homelessness, and how many people they've put into beds, how many people they've been able to feed. And you just got to be ready for the next series of numbers that you've got to be able to push back and say you're right, and you just made it worse. And when you're
Right.
paying $780,000, $730,000 to fund a 220 square foot apartment for a homeless person, you know that the system's broken. But he's
Right.
got to be able to have some of these examples. And
And,
that's my
and
only
the
fear. That's my only
no,
fear
it's
because I see
it's
this.
it's a very very good point.
You
It's
know,
a very good point. He's got to be ready to come back and say, why does it take a communist leader coming to San Francisco to clean up the streets?
right?
Why did, well, we want to always put our best foot forward. Why don't you want to put your best foot forward to the people that pay the taxes, to the people that open their small and run their small businesses there? Those aren't rich oil people. Those are mostly immigrants from other countries, in San Francisco area, probably mostly from the Asian community that, came to America for an opportunity, opened a small business, want to hand that down to their kids. They're getting destroyed because of the homeless problems, the fentanyl problems, and all this kind of stuff. That's not rich people, rich white people in the oil companies. That's, average Americans, immigrants to this country that came seeking a dream. They're getting killed because of your policies. But if a communist dictator comes to our country, we're going to clean it up so that the
Yeah,
communist dictator is happy, not you.
right.
That's what he's got to do. He's got to hammer. He's really got to hammer him. Mess his hair up a little bit.
I agree with you, and we'll see if he does that. And the other thing too, I like this forum a little bit more because it's not your 7 or 8 different people there. It's your
Right.
just two individuals going at it. But I mean, talking about six, your 5 or 6 different people. I mean, that's what's going to happen the following week in was it in
Alabama,
Alabama? Yep.
Tuscaloosa. It's going to be another shot in University, Alabama. That's where Tuscaloosa is, and see if somebody can throw one into the end zone with no time left. And Chris Christie goes back for a deep pass, and he throws the donut over the goal line. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. That's my wife's Christmas present. I'm sending her down to go watch the debate.